What is up, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global back here with another video, and in this one, we're going to be talking about how Sony Michel is going to be vital for this upcoming 2020 season in order for the New England Patriots to be successful. Just real quick, remember, if you guys do want to get some benefits from the channel, such as being joined into a Discord with me and some other Patriots fans, being able to play one-on-one Madden or Fortnite, or coming on to the channel to talk about Patriots football, go ahead and check the link below to my Patreon page. But there are a lot of questions surrounding the New England Patriots this offseason, as I'm sure we're all pretty visibly seeing at this point. The Patriots are coming off of a season where statistically, when it came to their defense, this was arguably the best defense the Patriots ever had and was one of the best defenses to play in NFL history. This team could have gone very, very far. We're talking about deep into the playoffs, deep into a Super Bowl run. They could have put up statistical numbers and could have had a statistical season when it comes to the New England Patriots franchise history. But in a surprising turn of events for the Patriots franchise, their offense was not able to keep up, and their offense is the reason why the Patriots ended up playing in the wild card game for the first time in forever, didn't even win a playoff game for the first time in forever, and of course, didn't even make it to the Super Bowl again for the first time in forever. Now, we could go on for days talking about what went wrong with the Patriots, especially offensively, from Tom Brady to the receivers to the O-line to the running backs, whatnot, but we've already talked about that enough, and I think that, let's just not waste anybody's time. This upcoming season for the Patriots is going to be filled with a lot of questions until we are able to start hearing some news from the Patriots team, how guys are performing, kind of getting a feel for what this Patriots team, more specifically their offense, is going to look like as we head on to uncharted territory now that Brady is gone. If you have been around the channel for even just a few weeks, then you would know that I've been saying that this upcoming season is going to be heavily relied on when it comes to the running game. Now, if you look at the past few seasons, yes, the Patriots have become more of a try to run the ball type of team than a pass the ball through the air like they've been known to do throughout the history with Tom Brady. But expect it to be even more vital for this upcoming season because, guys, here's a little hint. I do not see the Patriots being the type of team where year one they're going to throw their rookie quarterback Jarrett Stidham into a position where he's having to throw the ball 50, 60 times a game. They want to put him in a position with a good set of running backs like they did when Tom Brady first came into his career, and only have him pass the ball essentially when he really needs to. Make sure that you have a running game that he is able to rely on because, as we have seen for every team in the NFL, not just the Patriots, but when you're able to run the ball successfully, statistically, that team that runs the ball the best comes out the winner 9 out of 10 times. And we've seen even with the Patriots, when Sony Michel was able to run for 100 yards or more, the Patriots were able to come out as winners of that game. A lot of people think that Tom Brady just started off as the GOAT the second that he stepped onto the field, and that's not the case. And even Tom Brady would say that it took him some time. Something that Brady is known for is his mindset, how knowledgeable he is about the game. That is really what makes Tom Brady, and essentially what has separated him from all the other quarterbacks over the years. He's had so much time to take in what the NFL is. He's had time to take in different defensive schemes and different defensive perspectives. He's been able to see how the league has changed all the way from 2001 to 2020. Tom Brady is older than some coaches in the NFL. Brady's older than some of the players in the NFL. In fact, he's older than most players in the NFL. And because of that, it's very hard to trick Brady into making mistakes. The reason that relates back to the Patriots now, the reason that I'm talking about Brady and how that goes back to Jarrett Stidham and how that goes to the Patriots offense and how that affects to Sony Michel all ties in very well. So if you think I'm going off the boat a little bit here, just stay with me. Jarrett Stidham is going to learn as his NFL career starts to progress. Just like Tom Brady, just like any other guy in the NFL, it takes some time to learn schemes, learn perspectives, being able to diagnose different defenses. The best way that you are able to learn and the best way that you're able to take on that mindset that Brady did and ultimately just play better football from knowledge is going to be just your NFL experience. We've said it before, NFL experience is super, super important. That's why a lot of times we're talking about guys with postseason experience because it's important, guys that have been in the playoffs versus guys that haven't been in the playoffs before. So if the Patriots were not able to establish a running game and run into the same rock that they did this past coming season, then this offense is going to be in the exact same place, if not worse than it was this past season. The running back committee as a whole is going to be essential for the New England Patriots. But when I'm looking at the stats, when I'm looking at what guy gets utilized more, especially in the running game, Sony Michel truly is their number one guy. Now, real quick, guys, I'm sure that we're all kind of getting sick of having to stay at home. We all just want to do something. We want to have fun. Some people want to go out and just get their fix. You know, I know a lot of people like to gamble, and I'm here to tell you that our exclusive partners at BetOnline has no shortage of events going on right now. NASCAR is back and BetOnline has hundreds of games, events, and sports that you can still bet on. I also know that most of us here are going to be fans of the football, NFL. And on BetOnline, you can bet on simulated NFL, NBA, and UFC, or even participate in a $10,000 Madden bracket challenge. Basically, what it is just a March Madness style NFL simulation tournament that you can enter, get this, for completely free. Now, guys, if you are interested, go ahead and visit the website or use your mobile device and join today to receive your new welcome bonus and check out all of the action. Guys, BetOnline, your online wagering solution. But real quick to a flashback of 2018, the New England Patriots selected Isaiah Wynn. Some people thought that it was a bit of a shock. Some people didn't. But I think the biggest shock that a lot of people had is when the Patriots drafted Sony Michel in the first round. Many didn't know what to make of it. Many people were confused. But ultimately, it panned out pretty well for the Patriots heading into that 2018 season. Let's talk a little bit about Sony's rookie year. Now, Sony was dealing with a lot of injuries that rookie season. Training camp, mini camp, that entire offseason, even the preseason. He was going in with multiple injuries. He had to get a surgery at one point. He didn't even get to end up starting the season. He ended the season playing in 13 games in which he had 209 rush attempts for 931 yards with 73 rushing first downs. He also had 434 yards after contact. Sorry, for a second there I almost said carry. And also had 11 broken tackles. He finished the year with 6 rushing touchdowns and had 4.5 yards per attempt. When it came to the receiving game, Sony didn't do too much. He wasn't very active in that sense of the game. That is something that the Patriots really didn't like about him. That's something that they really tried to fix with him this past offseason, but we'll talk about that in a second. He was targeted 11 times with 7 receptions for 50 yards, averaging 7.1 yards a reception with a long reception of 13 yards and 0 touchdowns. The thing about Sony Michel is that he was a very one-dimensional running back. If you're the Patriots, you're Bill Belichick, you don't like that. That's not the Patriots way. That's not what Bill Belichick does as a coach. He doesn't like to bring in players who are one-dimensional, especially at that running back position. Essentially, look at everybody else they have. They're able to do a multitude of different things. You look at Brandon Bolden. He's able to be a receiver, a running back, mainly used at special teams. James White, an amazing leader here for the Patriots team, especially offensively. He's a guy that is really a receiver for the Patriots just in that running back role, but can still run the ball very, very well. Rex Burkhead, that guy is a triple threat. He can play special teams and makes plays at it. A good receiving back, and a guy who, again, can run the ball. You look at Sony Michel, and all he's able to do is run the ball. He doesn't have special teams ability. The Patriots don't really trust him on returns. They tried to get him into the receiving game. I mean, this past offseason rather, their entire focus with Sony Michel was, okay, we know he can run the ball, but we need to work on his hands. And that's what they did all offseason. They really didn't focus on him as a running back. They focused more on him as a receiver. And so because of that, we were expecting a lot of things, and he definitely got more looks, but it did not pan out for him. When it comes to receiving, in 2019, his sophomore season, he was targeted a total of 20 times, in which he had 12 receptions for 94 yards, averaging 7.8 yards a reception with 0 touchdowns. Not to mention, he had 2 fumbles in 2019 compared to his 1 that he had in 2018. His first season in the NFL, when it came to receiving, he had 2 drops. This past season, he had 3. Surprisingly, he had a drop percentage of 18.2% in his freshman year, and then this past season, his sophomore year, it was 15, even though it seemed like Sony Michel had a lot more visible issues in the receiving game this past year. Sony Michel truly was coming off of a dominant first season in the NFL. Despite only playing 13 games, he was so close to putting up a total of 1,000 yards as a running back. Not to mention the fact that in the postseason, playoffs, he was a big reason that we got to that Super Bowl and ended up winning it. He had 71 rushes for 336 yards and 6 touchdowns with a long run of 40 yards, averaging 4.7 yards a carry. Not to mention the fact that he had 112 yards averaged per game. There was nothing but high hopes on the 2019 season for Sony Michel. After what we saw from his freshman year, people were saying, including myself, look, if Sony can stay healthy, there's no way that he can't get 1,000 yards. Now, this past season, somehow, lucky enough, he was able to stay healthy. He appeared in all 16 games, in which he had 247 rush attempts. That was an increase from 2018, in which he had 912 yards, which of course was a bit of a decrease compared to his freshman season in 2018. He did finish with a total of 7 touchdowns. That is 1 more than he had in 2018, but considering he also played an extra 3 more games, you kind of were hoping for that to be a bit more high. Had a long carry that season of just 26 yards. He averaged a mediocre 3.7 yards per carry compared to that 4.5 he had the season prior. Something that I also should mention that is Sony Michel in 2018, he averaged 71.6 yards per game. This past season, he averaged 57. Now, of course, as you probably could have guessed, fans were highly upset with Sony Michel. In fact, there were some fans that even went as far as to say that Sony Michel was a complete bust by the New England Patriots. Some people talked about trading him or even cutting him. Of course, that is very ridiculous, but that's how some people felt. I think that a lot of people don't understand the type of running back that Sony Michel truly is, how he needs to succeed, and how what he got this past season was the exact opposite of what the Patriots, Bill Belichick, the coaching staff had to do to make sure that Sony Michel in the running game was able to succeed. I mean, let's start off with the offensive line here. Sony Michel had a dominant offensive line his rookie season. It ended up being top 3 in the NFL that year. Then this past season, he loses his center in David Andrews. Left tackle was kind of just going in and out between, okay, is it going to be Joe Thuney? Is it going to be Marshall Newhouse? Is it going to be Isaiah Wynn? You had Marcus Cannon, who was dealing with some injuries from time to time, and you had Shaq Mason, who was not performing up to his regular standards. Blocking for the Patriots offensive line this past year was not what it was the season prior, and as a unit for the Patriots running backs, they just weren't able to get too much done, especially when you look at Sony Michel. And he's the type of running back that he's not hard hitting. He's not super elusive. He's a guy that is really good with his ball carrier vision and is able to get the job done when he's given blocks. Give him blocks and he can get it done. He can find the correct holes and he can make the plays. But he's not going to be a guy that has, a 98 overall in freaking Madden or is pounding through 20 guys to break off tackles and get to the end zone. It's not the type of running back he is. You also have to look at the tight end position, and I just don't feel that people give enough credit to tight ends these days, especially for what they're able to do as blockers. I think that a lot of people see tight ends in this generation as receiving. And that is great. Tight end has changed very much from generation to generation and has turned into a position where you got to be able to receive the ball. But the Patriots went from 2018 having Rob Gronkowski and Dwayne Allen, two of the best blocking tight ends in all of NFL. They lost both of them in the same offseason, and who did they have to replace? They had Matt LaCosse, Ryan Izzo, and Ben Watson. None of which were even half of what Dwayne Allen or Rob Gronkowski was. So not only did Sony Michel have an offensive line who was filled with second to third string guys and was not performing well giving correct blocks, but you also had the tight end position, which essentially wasn't giving you much of anything when it came to being blockers. Now, the wide receiver position, the Patriots have some really good blocking guys at the wide receiver position. I don't think that gets enough credit. N'Keal Harry, a great blocking wide receiver. Edelman, a great blocking wide receiver. But even then, you look at the injuries that they had at the receiver position, and you can't expect some of these guys to follow through when, multiple guys on the Patriots wide receiver end were supposed to have been done the entire season to get a season-ending surgery, and they didn't. Honestly, if I'm Sony Michel, I can understand the frustration. And it's not like he came out and he said that he was frustrated or anything. But I just know if that was me, heck yeah, I'd be frustrated. Props to Sony for the cast he had still being able to stay healthy and play every game. Still, with what he had to work with, was able to put up 7 touchdowns and was able to still, for the second consecutive season, put up over 900 yards. Sony is only going into his 3rd year of his NFL career. He still is in his developmental time. He's still in the prime of his career, and there's a lot of good to still come from Sony Michel. The Patriots just have to give him what he needs to work out well. It's just like a quarterback. You have to give a quarterback certain things for them to succeed. Good wide receivers, good offensive line, of course, good play calling. If Sony Michel is able to even go back to the 4.5 yards in average per run that he had his freshman season, that's going to help the Patriots out tremendously. You're talking about Jarrett Stidham only having to throw for maybe 6 yards instead of 10 to pick up a first down, or 3 yards, or 2 yards, or even just helping get the Patriots offense into a position where Rohrwasser can come out and make a kick and at least get some more points up on the board. Sony Michel has proved that he can be a hard-hitting running back who can carry a pile, who can knock a guy over. But he essentially is a guy that is able to find holes really well. If the Patriots are able to give him holes, believe it, 100%, Sony's going to find them and he's going to have big runs. If the Patriots can stay healthy, they've put together really good pieces that I think Sony Michel, you stay healthy, you play all 16 games, he's going to be a very vital piece and is going to have a very big season, which is going to be very important for the Patriots offense in order to succeed in 2020. Now, that is going to be it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on Sony Michel and the Patriots running game heading into the 2020 season? Let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you guys like this video if you haven't already. It really helps me and the channel out. It's completely free. All you got to do is smash that like button. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already for all of your New England Patriots news. And like always, thank you so much for watching.